All right, everyone. Bigbear.ai has exploded today, jumping an impressive 17% in a single trading session. That's not just a little bump, it's a massive surge for a company that, until recently, had been stuck in a stubborn downtrend. So, in today's breakdown, we're going to dig deep into what's happening with Bigbear.ai, why the stock suddenly came alive, what technical and fundamental signals we should be watching, and how broader developments in artificial intelligence and defense technology are shaping its future. Now let's rewind for a moment to set the stage. For months since early July, Bigbear.ai's stock had been sliding lower and lower. The pattern was obvious: lower highs, lower lows, and constant trading under key moving averages. We followed that downtrend closely, and while it wasn't exciting, it was important to monitor because every trend eventually reaches a point of reversal. And in technical analysis, those reversals typically happen in three distinct stages. Stage 1 is the decline itself. That's when the stock is locked in a negative cycle, breaking below support, staying weak, and losing momentum. We saw that unfold throughout the summer as Bigbear.ai drifted from highs around $8 all the way down into the mid-$4 range. Stage 2 is consolidation, the sideways trading period where the market starts testing the waters. Buyers begin showing up, but they're not strong enough to push it higher yet. That's exactly what we noticed as the stock began holding firm around 465 to 475. Stage 3, the most exciting stage, is the breakout when price action finally flips, buyers step up in force, and the downtrend gives way to a new bullish cycle. And today, we're right in the middle of that third stage. Bigbear.ai blasted through its 200-day moving average, a crucial technical line that often separates bearish setups from bullish ones. Not only did the stock reclaim that level, but it's also pushing against fresh resistance, right around $6 per share. That level has been tested before, both as support and resistance, so the fact that the stock is pressing on it again is a strong signal that momentum is shifting. If it can hold this zone and push further, we're potentially looking at a climb into the $7 to $9 range over the coming weeks. But before we get carried away with technicals, let's zoom out. Bigbear.ai's story over the past year has been nothing short of a roller coaster. Back when it was trading at just $1, many considered it a forgotten penny stock. Then came the rally that took it to $10 in February, before another crash back down into the twos. Since then, it's had waves of recovery and pullbacks, but this recent bounce feels different. Why? Because it's not just retail traders speculating institutional money is stepping in. In fact, one of the biggest headlines sparking today's move is Goldman Sachs revealing that it acquired nearly 2 million shares of Bigbear.ai. That's no small endorsement. When a heavyweight institution like Goldman gets involved, it signals confidence in the company's potential. And it's not just about the headline. Institutional involvement can bring stability, higher trading volumes, and long-term capital that strengthens the stock's base. So let's break down what Bigbear.ai actually does and why these institutions might be piling in. Bigbear.ai isn't your average AI startup. This company sits at the intersection of artificial intelligence, national security, and critical infrastructure. Their flagship product, called Veriscan, is an AI-powered biometric and facial recognition system being rolled out at major airports across the United States. We're talking Denver International, Los Angeles International, JFK in New York, Chicago O'Hare, and most recently, Nashville. Veriscan allows for advanced passenger screening, analyzing everything from travel patterns to identity verification in seconds. And it's not just a small pilot program. This tech is already being deployed at the gates, directly with airlines, and integrated into airport security systems. Now here's the kicker. Veriscan isn't limited to airports. The software is device agnostic, meaning it can run on tablets, smartphones, or commercial-grade hardware. That flexibility opens the door to a massive total addressable market, spanning not just aviation security, but also border protection, shipping, and even event venues. Combine that with the company's large language models and predictive analytics, and suddenly you've got a system capable of flagging potential threats before they even unfold. For example, it can detect suspicious travel patterns, identify unusual cargo movements, or even analyze who passengers are traveling with and why. Beyond airports, Bigbear.ai is expanding its footprint in maritime and cargo security. They're working on AI-driven solutions for monitoring activity in ports and harbors, including partnerships related to the Panama Canal, one of the most strategically important trade routes in the world. With geopolitical competition heating up, securing shipping lanes and critical trade infrastructure has become a top priority for governments, and Bigbear.ai is positioning itself as a key player in delivering the technology that makes this possible. This isn't surprising when you look at the company's leadership. The CEO of Bigbear.ai previously served as the acting Secretary of Homeland Security and as the Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. In other words, he knows the system inside and out, and he has the connections to land government contracts. That's part of why the company is already working with the Department of Defense, the U.S. Army, and the Pentagon. And when agencies like the TSA announce multi-billion-dollar programs for AI-driven threat detection and screening, Bigbear.ai is exactly the kind of company that's positioned to capture those contracts. Now let's return to the financial picture. Bigbear.ai isn't a massive revenue machine yet, but the trajectory is moving upward. Quarterly revenue has hovered around $33 million, with projections to grow toward $50 million as contracts scale. Year-over-year growth has been modest, around 2%, but what's far more impressive is the growth in assets. Total assets are now around $600 million, and cash plus short-term investments have skyrocketed by over 400% in just a year. That's the kind of balance sheet improvement that gives a company the runway to keep investing in new technology and expanding operations. Of course, not everything is rosy. Profitability remains a challenge, as it does for many AI and defense tech companies in growth mode. Net income has shown some red ink, and operating costs are high. But when institutions like Goldman Sachs are buying in, it suggests that they're looking past short-term losses and focusing on the long-term strategic value. And given Bigbear's positioning in areas where governments are pouring billions of dollars defense, border technology, airport security, that long-term thesis makes sense. From a trading perspective, what should we expect next? Right now, the nearest resistance is at $6, where the stock is currently hovering. If it breaks through convincingly, the next targets are $7 and $9, zones where the stock traded earlier this year. On the downside, support is forming around $5.50, and further down near $5.80. For short-term traders, volatility is almost guaranteed. But for long-term holders, this breakout above the 200-day moving average is a big technical milestone. One last point worth mentioning is sentiment. AI stocks have been incredibly volatile this year, with hype cycles driving sudden rallies followed by steep corrections. But Bigbear.ai is in a slightly different category because of its focus on national security. Unlike consumer-facing AI companies that depend on advertising or subscription growth, Bigbear is building relationships with governments and institutions where budgets are massive and demand is stable. Security isn't optional, it's a necessity, and that gives Bigbear a unique resilience in the AI sector. To wrap it up, today's 17% surge isn't just a random spike. It's the combination of technical reversal patterns, institutional buying, and growing recognition that Bigbear.ai is playing in one of the most strategically important arenas of AI technology. Yes, the stock will remain volatile, that's the nature of small-cap AI names. But the narrative here is powerful. A company that once traded for $1, now climbing back above $6, with multi-billion-dollar opportunities in defense and security ahead. For investors and traders alike, this is a story worth following closely. This is not financial advice.